probably busy over there. But what if I was to three-way in zombie collector and he was just to completely sabotage the entire video? You probably just end it early, or would you like engage him in conversation?
Oh, we're live again. Man, finally. I think this is going to work. Yo and hello, everybody. I'm telling you, I've had more technical difficulties the last couple days. Normally don't have any, so it's kind of but how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to another episode of Beyond Cardboard. We're going to get that going in just a second. We're going to let some people start showing up here. And then we're going to talk to Philmington, as you could tell from the title of this video. But I want to tell you guys, like, today was a really cool day because I got to go to the ballpark in Arlington called Globe Life Park, whatever the heck, whoever the sponsor is. But we had a great time at the game. Just let me mute that. Phil. We had a great time. There was no chance that anybody thought that Nolan Ryan would be there, and he was there throwing out the first pitch, so that was awesome. The place went nuts. It was sold out. There were 48,000 people there to watch the game. Everybody got these cool final game Globe Life Park in Arlington t-shirts. Had to wear mine and with pride. And man, we just had a great time. Just had a great time. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Oakland A's are not going to win the World Series this year. I hate to tell you, Eric, but they are just not. Or no, Smitty said that. I thought that would be Eric. So we got quite a few people in here already. Let's just get this rolling because we've got a Cowboys game teeing off here shortly, and I'll miss some of it, but that's okay because I'm excited to. I don't know which episode this is for me. I'm well over 20 episodes of Beyond Cardboard. So if you're new to my channel and just watching it, this is kind of just a question and answer show that I like to do with fellow YouTubers just to let you guys get to know them a little bit better and learn about who they are and how they tick and, you know, what their foundation is in the hobby and just a whole bunch of stuff. So I right now want to introduce my guest tonight, and it's Philmington. How you doing, man?
I am doing stupendous. How are you doing, Mike?
Well, I'm probably doing stew something. Maybe not stupendous, but doing stew something. No, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Are you ready to be on the show? Thanks for being here, by the way.
I am definitely ready. I've been waiting for this all day.
You liar.
I've been preparing, so hopefully this goes well. I'm a little bit nervous. You know, I've been vomiting a little bit, but I think I should be fine with my beta blockers here.
That's good. So let me tell you guys how this is going to work. And we are going to do 3 segments. The first one's going to be kind of cardboard questions for Phil. Then we're going to take, and all throughout this, you can write in questions on the comments. I'll try to be paying attention. It's not that I'm not listening to Phil. I'm just reading comments over here on my computer. Ask him whatever you want to ask him, and I will pass it on to him. And then we'll do some Beyond Cardboard questions, and then everybody's favorite segment, which is rapid fire. So let's find out a little bit about Phil. Phil, how'd you kind of get rolling with this whole hobby thing? How old were you? What kind of got you started?
Ooh, well, I've been infatuated with baseball ever since I was a little kid. I remember growing up and cutting out stats from the newspaper and keeping track of Ken Griffey Jr. and where he was on the home run leaderboards, watching the Red Sox, of course. Kind of an underwhelming team in the early 90s, but I probably started collecting baseball cards when I was 6 or 7, so 90, 91 or so. I remember the earliest cards I had were probably from like 88. I think I collected some 87 a little bit earlier, but yeah, I mean, I was just super obsessed with baseball and just being able to look at the players, have different cards that I could, you know, look at a Beckett magazine and think that I had an investment. So started thinking about finance, albeit, you know, not in the right way because a big crash was to come a few years later. But it was just super cool to see the different players, read the stats on the backgrounds, and collect all the different cards from the different sets.
Awesome. Mainly baseball or any other sports? Just baseball as a kid?
It was mostly baseball. I think at one point somebody purchased as a Christmas gift or something, a box of like 91 Skybox, basketball. I probably amassed a few hockey cards and a couple pro set, whatever you want to call them. I forget the name of the brand. Football cards.
It was called Pro
But it
Set.
was mostly baseball.
You were right. It's called Pro Set.
Pro set.
I think I have a box of 91 Skybox that I could maybe bring you to the National next year as a take you back to your childhood.
Yeah, that's going to take up a lot of space. I would do it.
Okay, fair enough.
Empty weight.
It's totally empty weight. That is true. So, you grew up in New England, yes?
Yes, I did. I grew up in New Hampshire in a town called Salem. It was actually Atkinson, but most people that are from the area know Salem better. Really close to Massachusetts, so probably about an hour north, a little less than where I live today.
So you're
in Massachusetts.
Kind of all teams New England, or kind of do you have any teams outside of Red Sox, Patriots, that kind of thing? Bruins, I guess.
Well, when the Red Sox were sucking in the early 90s, probably either right when they signed Pedro Martinez. I think the first year we had him was 98. So they struggled a little bit, 96, 97. At that point, I had switched temporarily to being a Mariners fan. At one point, I went to a Red Sox game decked out in Griffey and Mariners gear. But after he left the team, even though they had a really strong team in the early 2000s with Brett Boone and Randy Johnson and
Jay Buhner,
of course.
Jay Buhner.
Jay Buhner, all those guys. I moved back to the Red Sox, so hopefully that doesn't make me a fair weather fan. Other sports, always been a Patriots fan. Another team that was tough to watch in the 90s, aside from their one Super Bowl appearance. I'd say those are my main two teams. I will watch the Celtics and the Bruins if they make it in the playoffs. The Bruins, they'd have to be deep in the playoffs for me to watch them.
Do you not like watching hockey?
I don't know what it is. They say that hockey is more fun when you go to a stadium and watch it live. Well, I've done that, and I've been at games. I think I witnessed Sidney Crosby's first ever professional fight.
Okay.
And I had a pretty good seat, and I did not find it that interesting. I don't know. As someone who played sports growing up a little bit, balancing fighting with trying to compete to win at the same time just feels unnatural to me. When we started brawling with other teams, we usually be down 8-0 at that point. So
right.
Not needing to multitask. Yeah.
Fair enough. I enjoy watching hockey, but it's not the same as when I was a kid in the 90s when hockey was just absolutely hot as all get out. In the late 90s, the Stars won a Stanley Cup, and it was great, but it's kind of lost its luster, I think, a lot. So for you, kind of, what do you define as maybe your collecting focus, Phil?
Yeah, so most of you guys here that watch my channel, some of you might, I do a lot of flipping. So what some people refer to as their collection, I often call my inventory, because if somebody at any given time asks me who I'm buying, I'll say the most undervalued players right now, and it might not be the answer that somebody would expect or want to hear, but, that's what I do a lot of. Having said that, I do PC a couple players right now, those being Mike Trout and Alex Bregman. So Trout is a guy that I really started to get serious into this year, buying up a lot of his rookie cards early on. And those are cards that I plan on holding for a while, probably a long while. Alex Bregman, a player that I've been drawn to, one that, fantasy baseball wise is something that I do as one of my hobbies, and which ultimately got me into kind of collecting and flipping because it makes it a little more concentrated. But Bregman is a guy that I've just been a huge fan of. He actually has a YouTube channel too.
Really?
And I'm hoping to see him do great things in the playoffs, and I'm not selling him right now.
What is
a lot of people think he's going to win the MVP. I don't.
I do not. I'm Belly and Trout, but if you were to ask me, but what does Bregman do on his YouTube channel?
I think it's a good draw to the younger generation that is more attached to social media. He just brings exposure to baseball. He'll show himself doing yoga. He'll have like a wiffle ball contest with somebody that's really good at wiffle ball and just like,
Okay.
mash the hell out of the ball. He does all this crazy stuff. Just so overall good dude. I think he's good for the game. Once in a while, he'll do something that he probably shouldn't. He'll maybe talk about politics. And I remember last year when the Astros were playing the Red Sox, he posted I think it was a rerun of himself hitting a home run off Nathan Eovaldi or another Red Sox pitcher, and then we ended up shutting him down that game and definitely quieting him. But he's mostly a good dude, mostly good for the hobby, and I think he's going to continue to get better as a player.
Yeah, I do too. He's solid for sure, without question. Lots of guys getting in there and doing some chatting. That's great. Let me know if you have any questions for Phil as we go along, as I keep asking him some stuff. Is there kind of a collecting niche that you kind of wish you would have started that you never did?
Well, this past year, I did sell a lot of my vintage. You were the beneficiary of one of those cards, a Clemente rookie.
I appreciate that, by the way. Course. I really appreciate that.
Hope you're loving it.
I do.
If I had still been in vintage, I kind of missed the boat on pre-war.
Okay.
So T206 completely. Those would have been the types of cards that, if I had gone a little bit more seriously into vintage, which I got out of for a reason, it just wasn't for me. I was focusing on too many things at once. I definitely understand the draw to vintage for sure, especially from a long-term value perspective, which you talked about in one of your most recent videos. But I'd say, I don't know, I'm okay where I'm at from a collecting standpoint.
Fair enough. What about kind of your dream item? We've talked about this a little bit off the show. What would you say is kind of your dream item?
Well, my dream item heading into this year, I remember Mike O, I think it was him that did a 3,500 sub contest maybe in January, and he asked, like, what are our collecting goals? And I'm not sure if I even brought up this card because I didn't think it was even possible. So it was certainly a dream item heading into the year, and that is a 2009 Bowman Chrome autographed Mike Trout.
Yep.
I was able to pick that up. I showed it off in a recent video. I picked it up a couple weeks after the National, and that would have been my dream item. Now, if you were to ask me, I'd say, and this is what we talked about, and this is going to surprise a lot of people, but it is actually a non-sports card. It is a PSA 10 version of Charizard, who is a fire-breathing dragon, a Pokemon character. So, kind of weird, but we could probably spend 30 minutes talking about it, but Pokemon is interesting to me in that it has a lot of properties that are attractive that modern sports cards just don't have. Of course, it's a fictional character, and Nintendo could die off at any moment. So it does have some risks inherent within it. But if you look at the appreciation path versus a Michael Jordan Flair rookie over the years, you'll notice they're very similar. And actually, the Pokemon cards have a higher print run or a higher pop in PSA 10. But PSA 10s are selling for more, and it is a newer card. It was released in 1999. So I think Pokemon could eventually, continue to expand. Nostalgia is probably a little bit earlier in the maturity curve versus baseball, where like I got into it in like middle school for a few years. But there's still a ton of people that eventually will have discretionary income that probably will get back into Pokemon. Never mind the international demand for Pokemon itself.
Interesting. So your dream item is, and this is not a negative, so don't take it that way, but your dream item is based on appreciation possibility, not on nostalgia or just wanting it because it's important to you for some whatever reason.
Yeah, I guess if we're talking pure emotion, I've never actually owned an 89 Upper Deck Griffey, and he was my favorite player. And that's one of my favorite sets as a kid, premium sets that I was never able to afford. So I guess that would be the baseball equivalent of my dream item, and it's very affordable versus the Charizard card I talked about.
Oh, how come you haven't gone in? I mean, PSA 10's what, $500 at the most? PSA 9 is $50. I mean, why wouldn't you just go buy one?
It's hard because I made a concerted effort to get out of vintage, and
89's not
mind,
vintage.
I classify 80s as vintage. You might not, but when I'm talking about modern, it's all stuff from the last 20 years. So if it's not vintage, it's something else that I just don't have room for in my inventory, PC, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. 89 Donruss is another one, but like I feel like I missed the ability to get that pretty cheap. If I had done this 3 years ago, I could have, made out pretty good on the price I paid on each of those. But just those cards have really taken off.
Yeah, but I would tell you if it's an emotional connection like that, where Griffey was your guy long ago, and I think you could make room for an 89 Upper Deck Griffey. That'd be pretty good a deal. We'll see if can't get somebody to get you an 89 Upper Deck Griffey.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Papino Man to get me one.
Yeah, he's got like 10 of them, 20 of them, but
probably.
So Bink Scott asked a question. Gary asked a question. Do you really have a PC? And some people are just joining us. And you're answering it in your Philmington way. What do you have a PC, or is everything to you? Is there is there anything in your collection that no money could buy?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, your inventory. Your inventory.
Yeah, I feel like everybody there's a dollar that'll buy anything. Like if you went up to Papino Man right now, and he's a guy that's been very adamant about his stance and not wanting to sell his cards until he dies or right before he dies. But he just like you, he wants to hold them. Silverjack buys another one where he said like I don't really have any intention of selling any cards. I think he said like recently he might want to sell some of his lower end ones or something like that. But I think that ultimately everybody has a price. If somebody was to offer you right now $10,000 for that Roberto Clemente that I sold you for a fraction of that price, I mean, would you really say no?
No, I would sell it. But to sell the whole collection,
okay. So,
yeah. I mean, it'd be a lot of money. I mean, a lot of zeros to get the whole thing, right. And no one's going to do it. Is the point, Yeah. Yes, there's a dollar amount where I would just say, dude, screw it. But it's such a big number that no one would ever in their right mind pay it, and therefore it's not even reasonable, and so I don't have to worry about it. But
So I guess for me, PC wise, if you call it a PC, I want to hold Mike Trout for a certain number of years. I'm trying to hold Mike Trout. I'll be setting up at a dealer show next April. I will not be trying to sell Mike Trout. If I have him in my display case, he'll be marked up. But I do have an exit strategy for players like Mike Trout. I'm not intending to hold him forever. There's not enough emotional sentiment that'll keep me connected to him for more than, say, 10 to 20 years. So I guess if that's what you call PC, then maybe I don't have a PC. But, he's the type of guy that I'll be holding longer than most others.
And that's totally okay, by the way. I mean, it's, you can collect or you, and I don't know how to say it. You can be a part of this hobby. That's the best way to say it, probably. Any way you want. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm grateful that you didn't want your Clemente rookie anymore. So that made it very easy for me. And I remember you and I texting back and forth because you didn't get there till Friday, I think. Is that right?
Right.
And so I'm looking Wednesday, Thursday, like, is there a better deal than what Philmington had? We had if y'all don't know, Philmington sold me his Clemente rookie. We had a deal that we had prearranged before the National with the contingent of if I find a better deal, I'll buy it, and then you can sell it to a dealer, and you'll still he would still sell the card with no problem. Well, it turns out I'm there for 2 days, and I have other guys looking with me on Wednesday and Thursday, and there were plenty of Clemente rookies, just nothing that looked as good as Philmington's looked for the price that Phil was giving it to me. And so I did the deal. Thanks, Joe, for the $1.99. Good grief. Um, all right, so we'll get.
I don't think I should respond to that. I think the minimum for me to respond would have to be like at least $10. So sorry, Jack, if I'm not going to tell you.
There you go. So we're not moving very quickly, but we will start moving quickly. Do you like baseball as a sport? Like, do you like to go to ball games and stuff like that in person?
Love baseball. I'm obsessed with baseball. Outside of the hobby, I was always very attached. I mentioned briefly about my affinity for fantasy baseball with Jeff Airtime here, and it was all about.
Yeah.
I love going to the games. For somebody who was once diagnosed with ADHD, I can sit through a whole game and it can be exciting to me, even if it's slow moving, even if hockey's more entertaining, according to most young kids, most millennials. I just love baseball. Something about it. Love it.
Awesome. I do too. We stayed for the whole game today. Last game at the ballpark. The Rangers won 6-1. Lance Lynn pitched a gem, but Judge pounded a ball. It got out in a hurry, and that was the only run the Yankees had. They only had 3 hits the whole game, so it went pretty quick. It was nice and cool to see all that. How many ballparks have you been to? Do you go to a lot of stadiums?
Yeah, I've been to quite a bit. I don't know the number, but I've been to, of course, Fenway Park. I've been to Camden Yards, Citizen Bank Ballpark, if that's what they still call the one in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's right.
I've been to the one in St. Louis. I've been to recently, last week, I went to Target Field, Minnesota. I've been to
nice ballpark.
Wrigley
That's a nice
Field.
ballpark.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I don't know how much character it has compared to some of the other ones, to be honest, but I had a chance to go to Milwaukee Miller when it was just opening. I regret not doing that. I've also been at Wrigley Field and the new Yankee Stadium.
Okay. It's quite a few. What's your favorite?
I heard a lot of good things. I've heard a lot of good things about a lot of stadiums I haven't been to. San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, Coors. But I think for the ones I've been to, I think Camden Yards takes the cake easily. It has a ton of character. Even though it's old, Fenway's old. Fenway has character, but people like me and you, Mike, I don't know about you. You're probably about 6'1". I'm 6'1". We're both above 200 pounds. Fenway Park is not built for us.
So true. That is so true.
That large. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And you can tell by looking at the fans. Like, tall people just don't go to the games as much. You're like, oh, I'm one of the taller fans here. Like, yeah,
right.
That's not a coincidence. Camden Yards has like a lot of brick pavers outside the stadium, a lot of orange and green colors across the stadium, and it's just an awesome time. I've been there a couple times.
Yeah, I will tell you, San Diego, I've been to every park but 3, and San Diego is easily my favorite ballpark. It's got character. It's right near the Gaslight District of San Diego, and by the way, it's San Diego. Like, it's fantastic. I really, really enjoyed. I've been to several games there. Love it. So are you going to be going to the National next year, you think?
I plan to, unless some life-altering circumstance happens. I mean, do the math. I don't have kids yet. I've been married for 2 years. Our anniversary's tomorrow. So, there's a chance that something could happen where I'm not there.
Right.
But my plan and my hope is to be there for sure. I was talking yesterday in my live stream with Pepino Man that my biggest regret was not staying for longer.
Yeah.
When I had booked my ticket back in like March or February, I didn't know anybody from YouTube. I had just started really making content consistently in December of 2018, and I wasn't connected with anybody through text, through Facebook. But now, like you, I'm messaging several people throughout the day. So if I had known back in August what I knew in March, I would have stayed for longer, and I would have enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah. That's kind of a normal kind of pattern. You go the first year not knowing what to expect, so you kind of shrink your time a little just so you don't get kind of stuck in misery, maybe, if you don't know. And you get there and you're like, oh my goodness. So I think you would agree with me. If you were to tell somebody going next year for the first time in AC, would your advice be to go longer? Like, just plan on going longer?
Right. I think I think at least 3 days.
Yeah.
For most people, makes sense, and that's what I would have done. I would have come in a day earlier on Thursday. I think, sort of on a separate note, not to change subjects, but
Sure.
Pepino Man and I, of course, hosted that party on Friday at Lowe's, and I know you and Blue Jacket hosted that party a day earlier at the Hyatt. I think it was wise that we had organized stuff multiple nights,
Yeah.
given the amount of YouTubers that were there, which was, from what you had said and others have said that have been to multiple nationals, it was far more of a turnout from the social media aspect than in years past by far.
Absolutely.
So I think I mean, 3, if not 2, would make sense for, I guess, formalized events. And I think Pepino Man and I, if we both attend, for him, he plans to go, but it's a long plane ride for him. So who knows?
Right.
We'll plan to throw something again.
Yeah, and same here. I think me and Dave and Eric, the 3 guys that kind of put together the Thursday night thing. Yeah, and I think Thursday, you could easily do something Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and there would be plenty of people because there are guys that come at different stages of the national. Some come early and leave, some come later and stay. Some are there the whole time. But I think you would have so many people, and I think you'd have people would come to anything that we, as a community, kind of threw together. You'd have plenty of people. So it was so much fun. I'm glad you could go, and I'm glad you had a great experience and a good time. And one thing Pepino said that I think is true, he said he wishes he would have gotten to spend a little more one-on-one time with people. And I kind of feel the same way. It's so overwhelming, and there's just so many people. You feel like you certainly don't want to be rude to anyone, but there's just not enough time to hang out with everyone that's there. It's literally not possible. So I think you just have to kind of go with it and just do the best you can,
Yeah, if you were to ask me what 3 people did you talk most with, exchange the most amount of words with, I wouldn't even be able to tell you. I'd be like, oh, I didn't really talk too deeply with anyone. Like you said, limited amount of time, and you have that distraction of cardboard right in front of your face, too.
Sure. And you're there for a show. But let's talk about YouTube for a second. How did you get going with YouTube? Where'd your handle come from, Philmington? I'm very curious about that. I think I know the answer, but I think it's just a emulsion of 2 words. But tell me kind of some stories behind that.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, what name could I use that's easy to remember, ideally with no, spaces, underscores, or, numbers at the end of it. Like, I know some names like Snoop12922. Of course, we all have that memorized now, but when I first started watching his channel, I'm like, wait, how do I find that guy again? What was his name again? You have a guy like CarTech710, and I'm like, I know there's a space somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So I guess I was trying to think of something with all letters that was all one word that kind of was fitting to me. And I'm like, oh, well, this kind of makes sense. It's a combination of my name, Phil, and where I live, Wilmington. So it's Philmington. And then as soon as I came up with that name on YouTube, then I rebranded myself on eBay, switched that over. And now on all social media outlets, I am Philmington.
Gotcha. And you have your own T-shirts, which, who doesn't like T-shirts? I don't have one, by the way. I need to get...
Exactly.
I don't know that I can pull off the V-neck, I don't know that I can make that work with my fat chin and stuff. I don't have the body type for it. Joe did. Joe was wearing it really well at the National.
Yeah, Joe told me I suffer from a lot of problems that nobody can relate to. Like, my hair is really, really thick, and I can't put on any weight. I'm like, oh, just want to slap him in the face. Just kidding. But yeah, a lot of people couldn't pull off that V-neck shirt. Pepino Man was told by his daughter that it was women's clothing.
My daughter would feel the same way. So what kind of, you've been in the community now for a couple of years almost, I think. And are there people that you kind of like their style? You have tried to incorporate things that they do in your videos? Are there kind of some new YouTubers that you're watching? Tell me what's up with that.
Yeah, I would say the one tuber and only tuber that I emulate is Jap's family, and that is because
You're such a liar.
the amount of that's because the amount of power that he commands. He just got a MacBook Air delivered to him for Fan Mail Friday, along with like some 1909 Cy Young card, I believe. But
I did not know that
type of power that he wields will bring me one step closer to sheer dominance of the human race.
Yeah,
just kidding. So
I know.
I'd say so. When I started, there were a lot of tubers, a lot of different facets of what they did. I tried to emulate Bowman 1951, for instance. Takes a lot of pride, spends a lot of time on his editing, and he's done really well with that. So I've made an effort to, now I have a different editing app, one that I had to pay a little bit of money for. It's not much at all, kind of like the one that you were talking about recently. And then you have guys like Alico3 who talks about value and prospecting, and I'm like, I could incorporate that into my videos. Snoop 12922, he's inspired me to do more like tutorial like videos. Somebody like even you, Mike, with you, it's like your pace of talking. Like, I'm like, that is really effective. I like it. Then you have Silver Jackify. Like, he is really likable. People probably want to spend time with him. He's like, seems like one of the dudes. Like, can I pull that off? Probably not, but let's try. So there's certainly been a lot of what people do that I've tried to kind of emulate and try to make my own, because I still want to be my own identity. I still want to be myself, but there's certainly ways I can improve.
Well, first of all, thank you. I've never heard that about the way that I pace myself in my videos. Believe it or not, that is intentional, but it's become natural, if that makes any sense. Like, I started it out that way long ago, and I don't really think about it much anymore. But thank you for that compliment. No one's ever said that, but I'm glad you noticed it. That's all. Wow. What about new guys? There's so many channels. Have you noticed how many freaking channels there are now of people doing sports cards on YouTube?
It's crazy. It really is. A new guy I started watching recently, Premium Sports Cards 44.
Yeah, you mentioned him last night.
Making videos. Yeah. They've been around for about 3 months, and they already have I don't know if it's 90 baseball card videos, or it seems like they're cranking out about 3 or 4 videos a week, doing a lot of breaking. I know breaking's not your thing, but for me, I don't need to see every product opened 50 times, and it's nice to kind of see it once from them. They know a lot about the sport, even though they're kind of newer to getting back into the hobby. They know a lot about the players, and they're able to get the products pretty quickly, and sometimes they pull some good stuff. So I'd say check out those guys for sure. They're already at about 300 subscribers, which is pretty good for about 3 months or so, I think.
What's their name again? Or type it in the comments there for people if they want to go check it out.
Sure. It's one of those ones with a lot of spaces, but something like that. Premium Sports Cards 44.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of other great channels too that have sprung up. It would take hours to list them all.
God, isn't that true?
I love it.
And I loved what you and Caesar talked about last night with view counts and things, because the whole YouTube widget, or just the whole idea of the secret sauce and how to figure it out, it's just fascinating to me. It's not an ego thing. It's just wow, because everybody wants their channel to be successful. Such a bad word, because it's defined differently by everyone. Pepino defined his success last night. I just want 100 people to watch my video, and then I'm good. And it's like, great, whatever, and that's fine. So there's so much more channel. The dilution of the view time is fascinating, which I did a video on it earlier this morning about that, because, and the comments that I've gotten about it were amazing. Like, so many people wrote great comments on their thoughts on that. And have you noticed, because you're now over 1,000 subs, congratulations, by the way. Have you found your video view counts to be down, I would say, or stagnating or leveling off?
It's tough to say. Like you, I got a huge influx of subscribers right after the National. I think I went from 720 to 1,000 in a little over a month, which is awesome. I don't know if my views have stagnated. I know you had said that. It's hard to really look back. Sometimes I'll attribute it to the type of video that I create. I'm like, okay, well, this was a rookie card explosion box update. That's what's carried me in the past, but it's ultimately just a niche group of people that might watch that. Maybe there's something else that can draw greater viewers. So I'm constantly trying to think of new ways, innovative ways to introduce new content, do more tutorials, leverage what I know about the hobby in a way that can help out more people, hopefully influence more people's behavior. And so I guess from my standpoint, you'll probably see a little less mail bin type videos. I've done a lot of those in the past. I'm just trying to change it up a little bit because I have a new group of subscribers, a bigger following now, and just want to make things interesting for everybody and appeal to the greater mass.
Yeah, I know you study a lot of, the top 50 prospects, and you know a lot about the up and comers in the sport itself. And that obviously translates then into their baseball cards and Bowmans and things like that. I would love to see you do stuff like that. I think it would be great. And it's something that's nobody's really doing. So I think that would be, especially on an ongoing basis, I think that would be smart and good of you to do. So let's go beyond cardboard a little bit now. Let's get into another group of questions so people can get to know a little bit more about you, Phil. You mentioned earlier you grew up in New Hampshire, right? Is that what you said?
That is correct, yeah.
Like New Hampshire's so I'm in Texas, right? New Hampshire would fit into the city that I live in, much less, you know what I mean? It's the whole state it's so tiny. How long does it take to drive across New Hampshire? I'm just curious.
East to west.
Yeah.
That might take you 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like a rectangular shape, so that's like the southernmost, the widest part of the state. If you're going to go north-south, it could be like 5.5 hours.
Okay.
But yeah, New Hampshire is tiny. I've been to Texas before, by the way. I love it. I've been to Houston, Lubbock, Austin, and San Antonio.
Well, you never been to the Metroplex. This is the best part of Texas. You've been. A lot of people love Austin too, and San Antonio's got some cool stuff. Houston, man, Garrett Cardcutter's on here. He grew up in Houston, and the traffic's just terrible. So tell everybody what you do for a living if you're comfortable sharing that. Kind of what about you?
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of information. I don't want to go too deep into it, but I am a consultant. So I work for a consulting firm, management style consulting. So if you guys remember Office Space, the Bobs, we kind of go into different shops in one specific industry that I won't share, but we try to make them more efficient. Usually it doesn't involve cutting people, outsourcing, stuff like that, but we have a lot of experience in that one industry that I'm not sharing. And we do that stuff.
The Bobs was hilarious, by the way. Yes, that's a good reference. So you just mentioned you were married. You've been married a couple of years. What's your wife's name?
Wife's name is Stacy.
Stacy? Like Stacy's mom? Like the song?
Exactly like Stacy's mom.
Okay. No kids yet. Is that something you want to have kids, or is that even on the table for you guys? Are y'all talking about it?
Yeah, we're definitely planning on having kids. Maybe not more than 2, but certainly having kids. And I'm hoping that if the hobby ever does go away, or if I stop, if I get disconnected, detached from the hobby, I can start to flip their organs.
Okay.
That was a joke.
I know.
That was a joke.
Yeah, you need to get on that. Start having some, because how old are you? What are you, 35, 34?
Jeez, personal questions. I'm turning 35 next month, actually.
Okay. I'm turning 46 next month. When's your birthday?
October 25th. I'm a Scorpio. You?
October 25th. Are you shitting me? Are you serious?
Oh, I think.
Did we know that already?
Did I already know your birthday was the 25th? I think somehow I knew that through some sort of contest that happened, maybe.
Yeah, October 25th.
So Pedro Martinez.
Yes.
Pedro Martinez was one of my favorite players growing up. He's also the 20th.
That's right. He shares our birthday. And we share. That's so cool that we share it. I had forgotten about that, but I think I did know that from something. That is too funny. Yeah, I'll be 46, though. I'm a little older. Let's see. What did Stacy think about the whole hobby thing and your inventory?
Well, I would say, and this is something I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. I don't know if it's part, I guess you're done with the fixed questions, but
No, that's a fixed question.
before, yeah, okay, well, so so before I really got back into the hobby in 2014 is when I really started to get back into it. Then I stopped for a couple of years, and I did a little bit of like flipping, and then I really got into it again hard middle last year. So 4 or 5 months before I started making content. I had a lot more hobbies then than I do now. So, and this is one of the things I was thinking about talking about in a video. And I'm guessing others probably need to work on a better, more optimal balance. And for me, that means going to the gym. And the gym's important because physical health, well, that's important, but that also affects my mental health. The fact that I'm going to the gym and doing cardio, I mean, scientifically, it increases the level of serotonin in your brain. It just makes you, a happier person. Playing golf, stuff like that. Even fantasy baseball, I haven't been able to focus on much because of I am very entrenched in the hobby that is baseball card collecting, whether it's flipping, as you guys know, or setting up at shows, selling cards, making YouTube videos, and the whole thing with the rookie card explosion box. I love it. It's fun and all. But I think, and this gets back to your question about what does my wife think about the hobby, it's less about the sacrifice that involves money. It's more about the time sacrifice. It would give me more time to spend with her even.
Right.
It's not become like a huge problem yet, but, these are times that we're not going to get back. So I want to be a little bit more balanced throughout the rest of this year.
Smart.
One of the reasons why I got out of vintage, it just became a little too much.
Smart.
And I've already taken strides to stop selling at shows as I realized, well, I'm doing a little bit better on eBay based on my margins. So maybe I'll do less shows because they have a weekly one and they want me there twice a month. And I'm like, you know what, maybe like once every other month's better for me.
Yeah.
So I guess for this year, hopefully you see a more slimmed down version of me for next year. I want to be at the same body fat as Silver Jackify, or else just consider me a failure.
Gotcha. Thank you, Kevin, for the super chat. You guys do not have to do super chat. And Norman's probably about to go nuts because he is greeting Julie, who just got home. Let's see. Got to get back where I am on the questions here. So.
Did you open up the laundry?
Oops, sorry, honey.
Open up the laundry.
I did. I'm live here.
Hi, live.
Julie's interrupting us. Sorry, Phil. My bad.
It's all good.
Should I show Mom?
Tell her that you're talking to Cal Ripken.
Oh, I'm talking to Cal Ripken.
Hi, Cal.
Yikes. Okay. Everybody's saying hi on the chat. They're all saying hi,
Hi.
Julie. Sorry. All right. So the time thing is big, and I'll tell you, I'm glad you're thinking about that. Everybody needs to think about that when it comes to your family and stuff like that. So what, when you were younger, when you were a kid, what kind of sports did you play? You mentioned you like to play sports. What did you do when you were a kid?
I played baseball. I played a little soccer. Baseball, I was a pretty good third baseman and first baseman. Really good reaction time, strong arm, pretty good power, opposite field power. I played a little bit in high school. Then what happened was I got really tall all of a sudden. I went from like 5'10" to 6'2" in like a month.
Right.
And then I couldn't get the bat head around it anything, and I couldn't pull anything anymore. And then there was no hitting coach that could have helped me. My dad's an immigrant from Sicily, has no idea about anything baseball except for the stuff he watches on TV. And that I kind of regret not being able to correct my swing. Soccer, I was a pretty good goalie. I didn't like playing goalie, but I was a very good goalie, and maybe potentially could have gotten a scholarship, but because of my lack of focus and my want to play other positions, I didn't really apply myself too much on that part of the game, and that died also in high school. Now, you played baseball in college, right?
Yes, very briefly, only as a freshman at the Air Force Academy. So,
Oh, got it.
and I was a catcher, tall catcher. But let's see, what else? Do you have any other? You said you mentioned you had a whole lot of hobbies, and maybe you've pared those down. So, what are some of those hobbies that were taking a lot of time in your life?
Well, I used to do like recreational sports, softball, a little bit of soccer. We talked about the gym a little bit.
Do you play
Let's
golf?
see, what else?
Do you play golf?
Yes, yeah, that. Play golf for sure. I like going to different breweries. Something that I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm actually Yelp Elite.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
a professional food critic. So if there's any small business that you want shut down, just let me know. I'll post a fake review. It'll be
Deal.
gone in no time.
All right. None come to mind, but I'll keep that in mind for you. What? Let's see. So you go to the gym. That's awesome. I mean, I play golf a lot, but I think what do you shoot when you play golf? What's your normal score? What's your handicap?
Well, here's part of the problem. I haven't gone in so many years that I don't shoot that well. Handicap, I don't even know what that means. Just kidding. I usually shoot around like 95 if I'm lucky. I mean, golf's a sport that you need to practice. It's very frustrating, as you know. It's one of the toughest
Yes.
sports to play. You even call it a sport. But
Of course
I've
it's a
never
sport.
taken a few courses. That's part of the problem with the hobby. I haven't been to a driving range in probably 3 years.
Well, I've got some questions from the audience. One is, how did you get into doing Yelp reviews? That's from Triple Crown 24, JT.
All right. Well, there's a lot of different ways I could answer this. But I will say that I've had some bad customer service experiences in the past.
Okay.
And I always thought that the consumer should have a voice. And other people should know about that type of situation so then they can make their educated assessment of, is it worth still going, given that, and that won't be the only review. There might be 20, there could be 5, there could be 1,000. I just think that we live in a society today where it's information oriented. There's reviews on anything you can buy off Amazon, even the stuff on eBay. There's usually going to be some sort of third party website where you can educate yourself on what that is and the experience and the common problems with it, frequently asked questions. And I think restaurants, et cetera, which is what Yelp's mostly good for, they have other stuff. You can look up plumbers on there and other contractors and stuff like that. But restaurants is the pride and glory. For hotels and stuff, TripAdvisor is probably a little bit better. But I just feel like people should have this information. And I feel like the customers should have a say. I as someone who worked in a restaurant in college, I always took pride in the customer service I provided.
Yeah.
So it really bugs me when people devalue that. They don't care. And if I go to a place once and there's one little screw up, they forget to bring out my dessert, that's fine. But if there's 3 or 4 things that happen, if I'm embarrassed, if I'm bringing Stacy on a second date, years ago and this happens, if somebody drops a dull knife and it lands on my cell phone and destroys the phone, which has happened, then I want people to know about that. And I'm going to be as objective as possible too, but I'll be very, very detailed in what I say.
Okay.
And I get it. Like, as a chef, like Anthony Bourdain, I respect him. He hates Yelp. He thinks we're bad for the industry. We only leave negative reviews, which isn't true. A lot of the fake ones get filtered out anyways. You don't see them. But I get what he's saying, but I also think, like, do your damn job. Like, I don't want to hurt small businesses, and I want to take people out of business if they have the right intentions. I get that they're trying to earn a paycheck. I get that hospitality and restaurant business is tough, but I don't know. I just take it a little bit personally when I'm paying money for a service and I'm not getting what I asked for, basically.
Fair enough. Thank you, Straight Edge Cards, for another super chat. I think this might be the most super chats we've ever gotten, Phil. I think I have to give you half the money by law, right? That's kind of how that works.
Jesus. So you asked for the secret formula, how to get to Jabs level. I think we're finding that we're doing it right now.
Yeah, I'm. I don't, no comment. Here's a question from the audience, and it is Nick Senzel. We're going to ask you a prospecting question. Is he a buy or a sell right now? Because there's a guy on here that has a 1-of-1 Nick Senzel. So what do you think on him?
I would not be buying Nick Senzel right now. If you already own Nick Senzel, you have to wait. He's had an uninspiring year from all aspects, from average, from home runs. But I sold a couple of his cards earlier this year, and I talked about how his profile, it's not befitting to somebody like Acuna or Soto that's like going to have monster power. He's never going to lead the NL in home runs or come close to it. He's probably never going to finish top 5 in the NL MVP voting. He doesn't have the defensive game that some of these guys have, like Acuna, like Bellinger. So I would say be patient, hold. The winter is going to be a tough time to sell a card, so you're probably going to have to wait till at least after the Super Bowl. So Modern is usually cold, like starting mid-October, all the way through like the first or second week of February, generally.
Yeah.
There's always going to be exceptions to that. But I would say you'd have to hold him till at least, and then his performance has to improve. So sell it sometime next year, maybe if he gets off to a hot start.
You know, it's funny, you see these guys come in like Senzel did, and he hit, what did he hit, like 5 home runs in his first 6 games or so, some crazy start, right? He just happened to have a nice start that I think if you were a reasonable person, you would look at that and go, that's unsustainable. And it wasn't, right? He didn't sustain it. Not that he's not an okay player. I'm not trying to belittle Nick Senzel, but the market he plays in, I mean, it's just not conducive, like you said, to hobby success, like an Acuna or anybody else. So I think that was a great answer. What do you think of Kelly's on Revere Beach? I have no idea what that means.
Oh, yeah, it's a famous roast beef joint. I think they have a few different locations. The first one was in Revere, and they sell, roast beef. They sell seafood. They're also known for their clam chowder. Yeah, it's a very, very solid place. I think there are probably other places that have roast beef that is just as good at this point. Clam chowder, same thing.
Yeah.
A little bit overrated, but an important staple of the North Shore here in Massachusetts.
Gotcha. Andy, she blinded me with refractors, wants to know who has the better career out of Acuna or Soto?
Ooh. All right, so if you were to ask this question 2 months ago, people would call you an idiot for saying Soto. But the past 3 weeks, they were pretty much neck and neck in WAR, which is wins above replacement, sadly one of the most important stats in order to get MVP votes these days. Since then, Acuna's sort of taken off and he got injured. Acuna has the most tools, so Acuna would be the safer pick there. Having said that, I could see Soto having a better career. I could see him being a better hitter for 7 out of the next 10 years versus Acuna.
Right.
In the hobby, you have to also talk about the teams. Now, Atlanta, one would argue, is a slightly better market. They would have been a much better market in the mid-'90s, right?
Sure.
But that's the type of thing that could change. So Houston was a bad market a few years ago, and that's one of the reasons why I started buying Bregmans. But if they keep on winning World Series or appearing in World Series games, then you think that's got to change a bit, right?
Yeah.
Another reason to buy low on a guy like Bregman on a stacked team. Now you can't really buy low on him anymore, especially when 40% of viewers and fans out there think that he's going to win the MVP over Trout. But yeah, that's a tough question with Soto or Acuna. I would put my money on Acuna, but I wouldn't feel overly confident about it.
So everybody's talking about Glaber Torres for the Yankees, and I have a question for you. This is a question from me to you. So, to me, Glaber has much more long-term hobby potential than even Judge does. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Over the last 2 months, I mean, Judge is a guy where his base autograph in a Bowman Chrome and a high grade was going for about 1,000 at the beginning of this year. I think it's because people just assume like he's the new leader. He's the new leader of the Yankees. Ask somebody like Silver Jackify, he would have said like, oh yeah, he's certainly our leader over Stanton. And Stanton coming off this ridiculous season with the Marlins, and it's just Judge is a little bit older. He's been dealing with a lot of different injuries, and as you know, I mean, the amount of market value that goes into players of Judge's age versus younger guys, like Judge is considered one of the older guys in the hobby just based on that, which is pretty sad.
Right.
What is he, like 26?
Yep.
But people are considering like guys like him and Reese Hoskins old. So I can see why Judge, and now he doesn't have a single season rookie home run record. That's one less thing he has. We'll see what Judge does next year. He still plays for the Yankees. People love his personality. He's a leader in the clubhouse. He's probably going to hold a ton of value for that reason. Gleyber Torres kind of flies under the radar. Even with his season this year, it's like, wait, who's this guy? Gleyber Torres, what he needs to do is stay on the Yankees, continue to, well, he's been a little injured, but not to the extent of Judge, but
right.
Stay healthy, continue to put up the numbers he's done. If they change the chemistry of the balls next year or whatever, and home runs drop 20% back down to 2018, pre-2019 levels, then he's going to need to continue to show that he can hit for power, more than 30 home runs consistently. The problem with him is walks and strikeouts, which affect those advanced sabermetric stats. This year, he's not going to be top 5 in MVP voting. He's had an incredible season, but for that, he's not going to – he's a guy that's still undervalued. I would certainly buy him now because I think that he's got a trajectory that naturally is going to lead upward, and he's super young. And most guys, when they reach their mid-20s, they improve their plate discipline. Walks, like Nolan Arenado did it. He's a guy that's now good for about a 400 on-base percentage. Never was in the past. Bregman's the type of guy that always had the profile, like a Joey Votto. But Gleyber is going to need to make some tweaks, even though on the surface it looks like he's got great numbers. They're not good enough to even compete with Alex Bregman or Trout this year. Never mind finish 3, 4, or 5 in MVP voting.
Yeah.
Which I don't think Devers will finish in the top 5 for that same reason. So Devers, for similar reasons, I would say is a great buy low, and he's young.
All right, Smitty's bringing up a great point, and I'm an Oakland A's hater only because I'm a Rangers fan, not because I don't respect what they do. But you got all this great talent, and they're talented in Oakland. You've got Chapman and Olsen, and Smitty's saying they're the best in the league. I don't know that I agree with that. They're very good players. And so why does Oakland seem like the place where – I mean, certainly there's no hobby love for those guys, do you think? And what's the future for that? Can that change, I guess is my question.
Will it change? I don't think so. Now, Oakland's a team that's known for not re-signing their players. Like, if Nolan Arenado had been on Oakland and not Colorado, we'd know that there would be an 80% chance he'd be gone because Oakland that's not what they do. They've let guys like Johnny Damon, Jason Giambi go. Great players that could have been an asset to their franchise. So, unfortunately for Chapman, he's not going to be a free agent for at least another 3 years. So I've been buying Matt Chapman personally because I think he's a terrific player.
I do too. I think he's a terrific player. Absolutely.
He's underrecognized. I think he's 26 years old. Last year, he was voted the top defensive player in the game. I think last year he was, if you look at WAR by like baseball reference measures, it was like an 8. But a lot of that was based on defense, and offensive stats matter more with MVPs, with Hall of Fame votes, as the two of us know. So what Chapman needs to do is get his average up. He's hitting, even though he's got a good solid WAR again and good power numbers and he's walking, I think he needs to hit closer to 270, 270 up. I think with a few tweaks, he can do that. But he's 26. He's tied to Oakland for a few extra years. Matt Olson's another guy that he's a little bit older, I think. What is he, like 24, 25? He might be the top defensive first baseman in the game, but he's a guy that I would certainly look into maybe buying in the offseason as well. But it's not a lock, and I don't see, to answer your question originally, I don't see like the no love for these small market teams ever really changing anytime soon, unless again there's some built-in expectation of them moving teams in the near future.
And you look at a guy like, let's just take Chris Davis with the KR Chris, not the CH Chris in Baltimore. I mean, the numbers Chris Davis has put, he kills the Rangers, by the way. It's like if he could play the Rangers every day, he'd have every record in the offensive categories. But he gets no national hobby love at all, which I guess if you're an Oakland A's fan and collector, that's great. You get to buy his stuff really cheap. But, that it just shows as good as Chris Davis has been, the numbers he's put up, at least from a power standpoint, to get no love is kind of shows you where Oakland fits in the hobby hierarchy.
Yeah, Chris Davis is a different type of player where he doesn't walk that much. He's not a defensive asset. He DHs a lot, and he's had a terrible year this year. But yeah, Chris Davis is the type of guy I'd avoid no matter what team he was on. I know he's got the power numbers, but he just doesn't have the tools to ever finish top 5. He could hit 50 home runs in a year and he'd finish outside the top 5 because he'd hit 247 with a 320 on base percentage, and that's just not what guys like, not what those MVP voters like.
But man, every year they seem to figure out ways to win ball games, and that's a testament to their front office.
I don't understand it. Tampa Bay, same thing. Last couple years, Jesus. Wow.
Yeah, you're like, okay, kudos to you guys, and good luck. Is Tampa playing? Are they playing each other in the wild card? Tampa and Oakland, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got to keep moving because the Cowboys are on. So we're gonna get doing with. You ready for a little rapid fire? Ready to go?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So the idea here is I'm going to just spout out a bunch of questions, Phil. You think of your answers as quick as you can. I may or may not have a follow-up question, but we'll go from there. Okay?
All right.
First question, favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Moose Tracks. You know what that is?
I do know what Moose Tracks is. Golly, I haven't heard that one in a long time. All right. On your hot dog, mustard and ketchup. Mustard or ketchup?
Oh, that was the Jackify question. Damn it. Both.
Both. Okay. Do you drink coffee?
No.
No. Are you a tea guy? Do you drink tea?
No, I'm not. I don't know. That stuff makes me crash.
Okay.
The coffee, of course, contains more caffeine, so it really, I don't know, it makes me all like antsy.
All right. Are you a good dancer?
I am a terrible dancer. My wife says I'm okay, but I think that's because she just wants to drag me out to the club and for me not to feel insecure about it.
What's your middle name?
You guys remember that movie Forrest Gump? Yeah, middle name is Forrest.
Forrest. Phil Forrest. That's an alliteration waiting to happen there. Okay.
I know. It was my grandfather's name. I got teased a lot as a kid.
Okay.
Because that movie had just come out in like the 4th grade for me.
All right. What was your first car?
A Mazda MX-6, 1989, slow as shit. I ended up killing the transmission in a snowstorm after brutally abusing it for like the 10,000 or 20,000 miles I had it.
What's your current car?
I drive a Honda Accord. I used to have nicer stuff, but I downsized the car when I bought a house 3 or 4 years ago.
Smart. Do you prefer beer or liquor?
I'm probably 50% beer, 50% liquor. Actually, no, make that 50% beer, 40% liquor, 10% wine.
Man, you get around on your drinking.
Yes.
I like it. What's your favorite candy bar?
Are we talking chocolate or anything?
Anything.
Well, chocolate. I have a sweet tooth. I can eat anything, but let's just say, geez, it would change if you asked me, depending on the day. Milky Way for non-chocolate. I like Starburst, Sour Patch Kids.
Okay. Favorite cereal?
Cereal. Try not to eat that because it's loaded with sugar. But Honey Nut Cheerios, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Life, all good.
Okay. Smitty's inviting me to his house for the playoff game. Oakland is one of the stadiums I have to go to. It's one of the 3 that I still need to do. Let's see. Favorite soda? You probably don't drink that either because that's no good for you. But
Yeah. I don't have to really drink soda. If I was to drink something, I don't know, maybe like Diet Coke or root beer or something.
okay. What's your favorite board game?
Jesus. Like, these are all things I haven't done in 15 years. Okay, let me think. Monopoly is pretty cool. What's that? Candyland? Oh, that was a game I loved as a kid because it was like super easy as like a stupid 5-year-old. You could learn it.
Sure. Favorite video game as a kid or now?
Video game. I'd say usually the sports games. So FIFA is pretty cool. I was back in college. I played a lot of NCAA, like the college equivalent to Madden.
Yep, me too.
And MLB video games are pretty cool too. Yeah.
What's your favorite movie franchise?
Oh, Stratego. That's a good one, Jackify. I like that one. And checkers and chess are fun too. Favorite movie franchise? Major Leagues is pretty cool. Yeah, let's say Major Leagues.
So even Major League 3, the third one that was terrible.
That was the downtown guy.
Yes.
He had like a nickname downtown.
Yes.
Or was that Major League 4 or something like that? Like
Maybe
Welcome Back
Major
to the
League
Minors.
4.
Is that what it's called?
Oh.
Or was that the 4th one? I don't know.
The
but
first.
I don't know.
First 2 were good. Favorite sport to play?
That's a toss up between soccer and baseball. Let's say baseball.
Favorite sport to watch?
That's going to be baseball. I do enjoy soccer, but only during the World Cup. And
Gotcha.
of course, I do enjoy football too.
Last question. What was the last movie that you cried at?
You know what was really sad? I don't know if it was the last movie I cried at, but Ladder 49 with Joaquin Phoenix. Remember that one?
Yes. That's going back.
Cried.
Yeah. Okay. Ladder 49. Well, there you go, guys. That is a wrap for another episode of Beyond Cardboard. Phil, thanks so much, man, for coming on and being so open and just talking about all the stuff that we covered. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. I had a lot of fun. The barometer for success for me for this interview is to get 100 subscribers. If I don't, then this was a massive failure and I'm leaving the hobby.
And a waste of time, probably, for you. I apologize.
Just kidding.
Well, I really appreciate it. And everybody, thanks for tuning in and watching. I got to go watch the Cowboys. So we will catch you guys soon. Keep collecting. Phil, you want to say anything before we go?
Not really, John. Last thing is Rookie Card Explosion Box Volume 10 is coming in October. Subscriptions will be available on my website starting the morning of Tuesday, October 1st. And again, most of you know this, I am expanding. So there should be a lot of room for new guys if you don't have one already.
Check it out. I've opened one. They're really cool. So go check that out. It's rcexplosionbox.com is the website. So go check that out. Right, Phil? Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's it. I just put it in the chat. Indeed.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Go Cowboys.